episode of The Detour. I have a very, very special guest, the one and only Miss Deiara.
How y'all doing?
How you doing, baby?
Good.
I'm sorry I got you up here this morning because people have a very problem waking up. And I know I had because I had a problem waking up.
I know, you was late.
Yeah, I was late, right, to my own show. I was late.
With no plate, nothing, just showing up.
That's just, I think it was that Thanksgiving food.
2 days later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that Thanksgiving.
So you just
I had some this morning.
I mean, that's fair. It's about that time.
But anyway, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. First thing I want to ask you, into the audience, who are you? And when I say that, who are you that describes you as you? What type of person are you?
I was gonna say, are we going philosophical, like physical? I guess you would say I'm a person who's always thought outside the box. As long as I've ever been me, really, I've always decided who I wanted to be at that moment in time. And my mom always used to make jokes. She'd be like, if Deiara wants to do something, nothing in hell can stop her. And if she don't want to do something, nothing in hell can make her. Like, you can't force me to be something I'm not.
Right.
I'm always going to be me in all of its flawed glory, I guess. So I guess the one thing I will say is I'm very person of dominant autonomy. I've always been that way.
Okay.
For better or for worse.
Okay, so what do you stand for?
I think really just breaking from the mold of a lot of things. I mean, not even to just be geopolitical, but capitalism, the mindset of living in or being a Renaissance person when in reality you know a lot about, a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's basically what college is. It's just programming people to believe we have this worker mentality. We don't have 24 hours in a day. You really have 12.
12, right.
So you're wasting it working for somebody else's dream and then wonder why you're dissatisfied in the middle of a midlife crisis.
Right.
And the world's going to shit. So.
Right. I feel that.
I guess I stand for us believing in something other than what we're told.
Right.
Be it fashion, be it food, be it economics.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you mentioned about, working for somebody and, noticing and saying that, out of the 24 hours, you have like 12 hours in the day.
Yeah.
So we was talking about prior to us the show about, you being employed.
Oh, yeah. So
for your last employment, and you was telling me about something that went down that you no longer work there. So tell me about that, please.
So I was at the time managing a barbershop, a woman-owned barbershop, in the CBD. It's a very, I guess, high-end location. But the irony is, any barbershop is still a barbershop.
Okay.
I don't care if we got marble full of fucking countertops and vintage Italian leather barber seats, which we did.
So was it a salon and a barbershop?
So no, it was just a barbershop.
Just a barbershop, people cutting hair. It wasn't no salon.
No salon.
Okay, because when you say it was a women-owned barbershop,
you would assume.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and then that's why I was kind of interested in it. I went on a limb of something that I would normally do. A couple years ago, I decided I would no longer be working for white people. So this was during the pandemic, the first time I took on a job working for a white woman.
Okay.
And it was very interesting.
Right.
But yes, it recently came to a close when me and her had cultural differences, which, to say the least, was that I am the culture, and she thought because she was adjacent to me that made her the same. Oh. And it does not.
Okay.
We got into a little bit of an interesting tiff because she gave me more creative license to run the shop, and I started hiring more black and brown barbers. Mm-hmm. And I guess she got comfortable, and one time we got in an argument. She tried to basically call me her nigga. Yeah, see, everybody else in the room gets it. So.
Do you? Wow. And that's how that went.
So, yeah, and then I already had a week off for vacation, so I was like, well, I quit. It was like the calmest I've ever been, and it was funny because she was like, oh, this is why, once I said I quit, she was like, this is one of the reasons why I'm going to let you go. And I'm like, you can't fire somebody who quit.
So you say that you don't want to, you don't want to work for white people. Is that the reason why you don't want to work for white people?
It's not just that. I have also found that white culture is very oppressive, even to them. They don't like it. They just adhere to it. And I have no reason to.
Right.
I am not a cis white male or female in any capacity. So why the fuck would I follow or adhere to their rules that they don't even like?
Right.
And that are bullshit.
So
I mean, I've
That's a
tested
good.
this
That's a
theory
good point.
multiple times. I remember I was hired as doing private events, private bartending, because I've done it for 13 years outside of me managing this shop.
Okay.
And I'm really good at it. And so I would do a lot of private events. And I remember one time I was on call. They wanted me to come in, and I had braids in my hair. It was right. It was like New Year's Eve. I remember vividly. It was New Year's Eve, and it was a Hilton private party. And they needed me because I could do high volume as well as
and how
classic
many years
cocktails.
Was that?
Probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So it's like,
okay.
yeah, I've been doing this for about 12 years. It was like just the start of my career.
Okay.
And I showed up and I had a double nose ring and I had, my braids. I just got them done for New Year's because they were supposed to call me and they said they weren't going to, so I got my hair done.
Right.
And I had like teal and silver and like pastel braids. Like these bitches were bright and thick and they were jumbo size. Like I'm not even gonna stunt. These were no like micro braids. These were some. So I get there and the guy's like, well, she can't work because of her hair. She's going to have to take it out. And the manager of the Hilton.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So I get there and not the manager of the company I work for, but the manager of the GM of the event or of the hotel was just like, oh, she's going to have to take her hair out. And the manager of the hotel was a black woman. She was like, by the time she takes her hair out, the event's going to be over. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. She's like, if you want her to work, you have to let her work.
Right.
Or she could just go home. And I was like, I'll just go home. Like, it's New Year's Eve. I'll go do something fun. So they let me work.
Okay.
With my nose ring and all my other shit. My hair up in a big bun. So it wasn't like in anyone's way. I probably rang in about $5,000.
Why?
I made about $2,000. I made more than any other bartender there, and I got complimented more on my hair and the way I looked than anything else because people had never seen it before, specifically mostly rich white people. That's my point. Like they want you to fall into this medium of what they want with your hair and your nails and your makeup or whatever makes you less than. Mm-hmm. And it's all a lie because the more that I've been more than, I've actually conquered and divided in all of their situations, be it private, be it royalty, be it bougie fucking private school kids. Like
it's interesting that you say that, how you came to work with your braids and your accessories stuff. Do you feel like a lot of companies does too much with that?
I mean, I've worked for different companies who made me like mute down my nail colors, or actually one company wanted me to wear a wig because at the time my hair was like really, really brightly colored. And it was all racially based because there was a white girl who came in with like fucking fire engine red hair, and I was like, that's not her natural color. Like, but it could be. And I'm like, ain't nobody born with this fucking hair, dog. So she Ariel now? Mira, she's a fucking mermaid? She must be because she's a goddamn fantasy. Nobody has this color.
Why do you think they do that?
Because they can. And because their idea of beauty standards, if you have a European beauty standard, it does look tacky on a black woman. I don't agree with that at all. I think it looks better. But my point is, if that's your European beauty standard, you're seeing it from that standard. Okay. They see dark as something disgusting, and I see it as fucking beautiful. Right. It's all about perspective. But if that's perspective that we're showcasing nationally, yes, I understand the self-hatred and bullshit that most black and brown women go through.
I agree with you.
But I wasn't raised American. I was raised in the United States, but I wasn't raised American. My mom never held me to European beauty standards. If anything, shunned away from them. I wasn't allowed to straighten my hair, constantly have protective hairstyles. Like, when I started dyeing my hair in high school, she cried. Because, the audacity.
Wow. It's interesting that you mentioned about, that you wasn't born. You said you wasn't born an American?
No, I wasn't raised American. I was born and I lived in the United States, but I wasn't raised by American standards. My mom being who she is, and she's a citizen now. By the time she wasn't, she was a Mexican national. She raised me in the mentality of Mexico, which is very different. It's very family oriented. It's very also like question everything, including her, respectfully, but including her. Like, and I've always been that way. Like, I'm not just gonna believe something just because you tell me why. Right.
So where are you from?
So that's complicated. So born in San Jose, but all my dad's people are from New Orleans. So I kind of went back and forth pretty much every holiday up until Katrina, and then I lived permanently in San Jose. Okay. My mom moved to Antioch in high school, so I moved. It's like a suburb of San Francisco, and I lived out there until I was about 17. Graduated high school, turned 18, moved out here to go to school to Xavier and be back home. Like, I really just, it's always been my home. It didn't matter how long I was away, or California was cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Being around my Latin side was dope. Like, there was a lot of culture and history there, but it just never felt like home. It felt like a lot of people pretending to be happy.
Right. So how do you deal with it? Like, how did you deal with that? Like, you had one you dealing with two sides of family. like you have, family in San Jose, and then you have family in New Orleans. How did you manage to deal with that?
You learn. I mean, you learn and decide who you really want to be. Like, everybody handles it differently, I think. My sister turned into a chameleon, or she'd be whatever people wanted her to be. And I was so, I guess, stubborn, and also realized that the only people who are ever going to respect any of us is if you stood your ground. So I just was, like, undeniably me, I think.
Right.
And my family, it was interesting. While they had problems with my mother and my father on the basis of different races and different cultures, they never really had a problem with the kids, and I think that saved a lot of fights, because like my grandmother maybe did not get along with my abuela and vice versa, but when it came to us, that didn't matter, and they would all show up consecutively to every single birthday party and function and weird shit that they probably had no business wanting to be. Like, I know for a fact my abuela thought it was weird that I was into fucking Japanese animation, and she had to come watch me at a show.
That's the shit,
right? Like, but that's not something that she.
That's not right. She's like, what the fuck is this?
But this is what I was into, so like she just let it be.
Right.
And then when I got into every single college on my set like fucking list and wasn't waitlisted anywhere,
so she pretty much accepted that,
Yeah, I mean
that's good, because a lot of they have a lot of children out there, they're suffering, because of their parents don't accept what they're into.
Oh yeah, I was incredibly blessed that my family was very much supportive. Like, even when I came out, like, my family, none of my family really had a problem, and the family that did have a problem, my mom was like, I just don't have to talk to you no more. Like, she was like, that's my child, what you not finna do. And my mom can be savage. Like, I remember my aunt was like, well, now she's gay, like, how's she gonna have kids? She's like, I don't know. Her name is Cindy. She's like, I don't know, Cindy, but like, your daughter lives in a car with a white man. Do we really want to be judging right now? I was like, Mommy, that's besides the point.
Right.
But when you come after her kids, it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
Everything's fair game.
So you're a lesbian?
Yes.
And your parents was pretty much cool with that? Like, they didn't?
No. I said they were supportive.
They were supportive.
I did not say cool.
All right.
Like, my dad's black, okay? My mother's Mexican. No. It took them a very long time to fully accept the concept. But as it's supporting me in who I was or what I was figuring out, yes. Now, what support looks like, I think it's different for everyone. Right. For my family, it looked like, for my dad, for the first, 4 years, he couldn't talk about my partner. He would always just be like, your friend, the one.
Right, the friend, right.
The fucking, and he would do, a weird shake jiggle, and I'd be like, and then I'm petty. So I'd be in the car, I'm like, what do you mean? My mom's like, you know what he means, dog. And I'd be like, no, I don't. I'd be like, my gym buddy. You talk about my roommate. Which one? He'd be like, bruh, the girl that you with. Right.
So how old were you when you realized that you were a lesbian?
That I was gay? Yeah. I was probably way younger, maybe 5 or 6, but I didn't know what it was. And then I realized that I was a lesbian or gay when I was probably about puberty, 12 or 11. Yeah.
Okay, so you knew deep down inside that you were gay.
I mean, as undeniably as people could know they're straight, yeah.
Right. Because some people, it's interesting that because some people, they test the waters to see if this is what I really want to be. So, when you say...
I think so too, but I think if you test in the water, some part of you is that thing.
Okay.
It's called bisexuality, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But I think also people are looking at it as black, white, and gray. Black being straight, white being gay, and gray being bisexual, right? So if that's really true, then bisexual being gray, it's a spectrum.
Okay.
There are some people who are, for the most part, all straight, and then they meet that, for example, let's say women. There are some women who are, for the most part, all straight, and they meet that one woman, and it's just that one woman. That's their one partner that they would ever be with.
Okay.
So they're probably, for the most part, on the Kinsey scale, very straight, but one person could change it. But doesn't mean they're gay. After that person, if that relationship doesn't work out, they're going to go back to being whatever.
Right.
So I don't think it's that simple. I'm very much gay. We have figured this out. Right. There's no figuring out. And I'm also a rare one where I've never had a sexual relationship with a man. I've dated men. I've never slept with them. All intents and purposes.
It's crazy because I was just going there.
Yeah, I know you were.
Did you ever dated a man? And what was the experience like? What did you learn from actually dating a man?
That my lesbianism is an act of Christian kindness because, if I was into niggas, I would be married with 4 kids and I would not have to work.
Right.
Men are very easy. They're very simple.
Right.
That's why I get along with men very well. Then they're confused and I'm like, boy, I am your competition. I am not your companion.
Right. So you never had no type of sexual desire or pleasure dealing with a man? Because you say you dated.
I
men.
was never interested in dealing with a man. That's like asking you if you've ever had sexual pleasure or dealing with a man. No,
Right.
it doesn't turn you on, so it doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong. But like, that's not what you want to do. So
Right.
no, I was just like, it sucks.
You know, I applaud. I applaud people like you. To just come out and because a lot of people. Because I actually had a conversation with a girl, and she was so focused on letting people know that oh, I'm just gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, but she never really explained her past experience dealing with a man.
I think
So
also it's like I said, everybody's journey is different.
mm-hmm,
That's what I'm saying. It's like people like me. Okay, that's like saying all black people are the same. You know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm,
lesbians are a spectrum,
right,
and I'm just always been this loud. So naturally, if that's part of my asset, I would just talk about it, and move on. But there's also people who become so undeniably gay. Like I have
right,
friends, they only go to gay bars and go to gay book clubs, and everything
mm-hmm,
about them is gay, and they looks like they literally vomited up a rainbow. And
right,
I'm a lot more than that. Like my favorite color is blue. I like peanut butter. It's a little more complex than that. So you
right.
and I both eating pussy don't necessarily mean I'm gonna end up fucking
Right.
with you.
And I had a conversation. I'm glad we talked about it because I actually called Minnie yesterday or the day before yesterday because we was talking to a friend and we had a conversation about because I was in jail. I was in jail like last week, and we had a it was a messed up situation. But
well, your life a mess up.
yeah, it's a messed up situation. But I was in jail and they had a man. I was walking to my cell and a man, and a dude, he was like, "Say, bro, you got a nice ass on you," but he was joking at the same time. But I looked, but I was like, say, I'm just playing with you. I'm just playing with you, bro.
But really,
So, yeah,
who says that though?
Right, and
Who
I was
like that though?
right, who plays like that? So my friend was like, well, what's wrong with another man saying that, what's wrong with another man complimenting you on your ass?
Nothing,
and I said,
but look around in your circumstances. If
right.
you in jail,
I was like, I'm like, that's a
different.
huge difference. And she was like, and she went on to saying that, because a girl came up to me and was like, I love your tits. You have nice tits and have a nice ass.
Was
I
she
said,
in
that's
jail?
different.
Was she in jail though?
No, she was not.
Well, all right then.
Right, and I say that's a difference. That's a huge
Because
difference.
if I'm in jail, even a girl comes up to me,
Right. That was a huge difference, and she kind of understood the difference in it, and we kind of like she had to understand that, okay, I see where you coming from. It's just different types of stuff. It's just different, especially how you come at people.
yeah.
It's just like if a random man come up to a woman, man, you got a nice ass. She's gonna feel very, very offended of that. It doesn't matter rather
I don't
if
fucking
you get
know
right.
you.
I don't know you.
What
You know what I'm saying? So regardless of the situation, like
I would just admit, I would be like, I would assume you want to get slapped. Like you came over here looking for some shit. Like, sir.
Right. Don't do that. But so I want to go back to you said that you was bartending for like 12 years. How was that experience? And are you currently doing it? How's that experience? And what does that do for you as a person?
I guess. Hold on. I don't know how I knocked this over. My hair has a thing of its own. It literally took this off the fucking. There we go.
So yeah. So how was that experience? You being being in bartending for you said 12 years, right?
Yeah.
And what did it do to you as a person? Like
bartending is very interesting because it's all about how you do it. I would say there's like several different types of bartenders, and especially specifically women. There's what they known as the sinner, the saint, and the mother. And that really plays in just the female kind of gender stereotyping that bartending. Because bartending, as much as it is predominantly women, especially in New Orleans, doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't come with like its own stupid stereotypes. Like I said, there's the mother, people who is like the nurturer, probably the older woman who's bartended for a very long time. Right. And there's the sinner, like the young, probably flashy, more sexual bartender. And then there's like the saint, the one who's probably just more classic cocktail knowing, right, very muted in the background. And then there's me. Right. I started bartending really because it would make good money, and I could do something that was flexible enough to go around my school schedule. Because at the time I was still going to Xavier. Okay. When I started bartending, my uncle actually got me a job working for the Pelicans, and I did it for like one summer right before school, and I could not. It was so fucking boring.
Boring.
Didn't care. And I was just like, this is not for me. And so I started bartending. And I initially liked it just because of the scheduling and the interesting people I could meet. But then I realized there's no cap on bartending. You can literally make as much money as you want.
Right.
So that's what I decided to do. And I really did really well. I mean, most people who come to bars are lonely old white men.
Why is that? And it's just like strip clubs. Like, it be the old people, the old white men, and they just come to strip clubs.
They come to bartending because they know that somebody who's paid to talk to them.
Okay.
And usually somebody who's very interesting.
Okay. So, do you see bartending as an entertainment? Like, do you have to have a required skill to be a bartender?
I think it all depends on what you really want to do. There are some bartenders who rely on their speed. There's some people who rely on their conversation. There's some people who rely on their skills. Certain skills, but you could teach a monkey how to bartend.
Right.
Really. There's some people I know who are not fast bartenders, but they're really good, so people deal with how slow they are. You know what I mean? So it's really just, it's not really about that. It's really about what skill you particularly want to focus on. The best bartenders have all three. Right.
Okay. Because I actually had a friend, and she was very interested in becoming a bartender, but she was like down, and she was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if it's for me. So that's why I asked you. You know, is bartending for anybody?
I think it's a lot easier looking than it actually is doing. I don't think people realize talking to people for 10 to 12 hours a day, yeah, you make $500-$600, but it's draining. You're literally giving people energy. Okay. And then you're dealing with circumstances or like not dealing with circumstances based on money. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
That can always be tricky.
Right. Okay.
So I think it takes more than people realize. And that's why only certain people can do it or deal with it. Right. Okay. And make it successful. Right. Because it's really easy to go and make that much money and then spend up half of it drinking right after your shift.
Right. Have you ever thought about opening up your own bartender?
Absolutely. But I'm not going to open my own bar.
Okay.
I'm going to open my own bar company.
Your own bar company?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want it to be basically Black women owned, run by women for women.
Okay.
I think it's still much of, like I said, a big boys club, and I really want women to know how to run their own bars. There's a lot of female bartenders, not a lot of female bar owners, specifically Black women.
Right.
And I think that should definitely change. I think a lot of the culture is brought by Black women, so why would they not also bring the entertainment as well as the resources?
Okay.
So
you mentioned that you said that you was a bartender while you was attending college, and you said you attended Xavier, correct?
Xavier.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what I keep saying. Xavier.
You know, it's Xavier.
It's the same difference to me. It's the same.
It's not the same difference.
It's the same thing. It starts with an X.
That's like if I called you Sean and your name is Shane.
Same thing.
That's
same
sad.
Difference. But no, how was the experience going to Xavier?
Going to a HBCU is always going to be interesting, but going to a HBCU that is that tight knit was very interesting because Xavier is a lot like New Orleans. It's very small. Right. Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
And I didn't grow up that way. So, it was very interesting. I found out how many people want to be in your business. Right. I mean, even when I went to school, people would always make jokes. They'd be like, Baby D so incognito. Like, you never know what she going to be, who she going to be with. I'll be like, good. Good. And this is right when Facebook was a thing, y'all. This is right before social media had taken over. So you could still technically do things on the weekends and not have people find out. Right. Now that you could never. People on Instagram Live, like everything. Yeah. They got drones now.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm saying, like, you really can't be doing shit. That's why I'd be like, why would you cheat? Just tell her. Man, they had, like, you know, since you said that, like, they had I seen something on social media where they had a Google Maps. And they was like, so they seen this car under the water, and this person been missing for like 28 years. Yeah. And because that Google map and they showed a satellite over that car, they find. Is it cool for certain shit? Yeah. Is the government definitely using it for their own advantage for weird shit?
Hell yes. Hell yes. Hell yeah.
Like, I know my FBI agent is tired of my ass. So, like, all this bitch does is watch documentaries, eat a lot of fucking food, download a lot of recipes, and watch a shit ton of porn. They're like, this is just, I don't like this hoe. They're like, can I get another one?
Right. So, you went to Xavier. Did you go to school in San Jose?
Yeah. I went to 2 different high schools. I went to a private high school called Cristo Rey, which is in West Sac, and then I transferred to, what am I blanking out? Heritage High School.
Okay, what was the experience from them two?
I went from a predominantly, so let me tell you this, my first school was so, like, mixed, like, white people with a minority. We had mostly Asians, like Latins, Middle Eastern, Black, everything else but white. Right. And then my mom moved me to the suburb, where it was all white. Right. It's very fucking different. And they weren't just like white people, because people were like, oh, well, it's in California. People forget California is huge. And while there are like 25 major cities, there are still cow towns.
Right.
My mother moved me to a reformed cow town.
Was that hard for you?
It was very difficult. I mean, homeboys would go to school in like Wrangler jeans where you could see their dick print.
Oh, wow.
And like belts, and there's no cows around. Like, what are you a cowboy for?
Sorry.
Like, it was the strangest shit. I was like, dog.
So I guess that's like the difference between California and New Orleans.
Yeah, and it was very much also like segregated.
Oh, it was?
Like, you want to picture like,
damn.
I guess Mean Girls. Like, there was the hot black seniors. There was the fucking, And me being mixed, I refused to pick a group. So I would sit with the Latin girls on Thursdays when they had Usadas Unidos.
Oh, so you had a schedule.
Yeah, I would stay with the hot black seniors on Fridays when they did the potlucks. I would be Wednesdays and Tuesdays with the popular white girls, but only in the SGA, because that was like the student union, and I needed them to get me like extra prom tickets and shit. You know what I mean? Like, be smart.
Right. Did anybody judge you for that? Like,
oh yeah, some people call me flaky.
You
some people
tried,
race
hopping, and
but also people realized that I was mixed until like none of that shit applied to me.
Right.
I wasn't fully black.
Right.
Wasn't fully Latin.
But you all
wasn't fully Asian, but I was all of these things and
right.
could come correct. Like when the Filipinos try to tell me my Tagalog is better than you and I can cook all the shit.
Right.
So
okay.
Like, we could do this. My shoe game is also better than yours, so.
Right. What do you think is the difference between San Jose and New Orleans school system?
San Jose
because
is better.
that shit
better.
that shit
D1.
that shit you was talking about, that's
we had the option of doing yoga as well as gymnastics for like PE and other options too. Like, you could do solely like one sport. You could take Japanese or German or fucking sign language if you wanted to.
Oh, wow.
For your art class, you could do anything from basket weaving to actual anime classes.
So the education.
They had an actual Japanese anime instructor come in and teach people like how to do real live animation,
right?
But anime style and manga style.
So in your opinion, you said that the educational system in San Jose is way better than.
Oh yeah, in California in general.
Okay.
I mean, obviously.
So what made you want to complete coming down here?
Because one, Xavier is still one of the top ranked schools.
Okay.
As well as I wanted to come home.
So overall in California is just better, but this particular
and
school.
Also I knew that, like, I had always been the smartest in my class. I got into all these other schools. I got into Brown, UCLA, like a couple other like really lesbian schools, like Spelman.
They have a lesbian school?
It's an all girls college. Come on.
Okay.
Don't make me spell it out for you.
Okay. I got you.
I also got into Howard. Like, I got into great schools, and that kind of taught me one thing. It didn't matter where school I went to, because the knowledge is all the fucking same.
Right.
I don't need them to teach me how to think. I already know how to do that. I just need them to teach me what to think, like what the knowledge they have to present to me.
Right.
And quickly on, even being at Xavier, as great teachers I had, like, I chose to leave. I actually didn't finish. I did 3.5 years and took a sabbatical. And I was like, I just want to do me. Because I was like, school's always going to be there. So I promised my dad I'd go back this year. And I was like, all right. Because I only have like a year left to finish. But that was my point. I was like, this is BS. Like, it's all about what you want to like actually portray, and the knowledge is there. And if you're smart enough, you don't necessarily have to go to school. Like, especially now that it's all virtual, I'm like, I can literally just study and take the test. So what are you really paying teachers for?
Right.
Unless they're not, getting those thought-provoking questions out of you. I have had incredible teachers, like, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you're not on that level, just hand me the test.
Right. I'm glad that you brought that up. Because, me and a couple of friends, we had a discussion about, rather if you should go to college after high school. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's individual. I think certain people need to go to college. They don't really have a life plan, and it presents a bunch of opportunities for them to figure out what it is. But that's because 80% of people are sheep, and they need to be told what to do. Okay. I think there's that 20% that doesn't have to go there. 10% of them will go to trade schools because they know exactly what they want to do, and the other 10% are creative. So there you go.
Okay.
That's the ratio, but I don't think it should be forced upon them. Yeah. I think anything, too, the way our education system tries to make worker bees out of people is the literal problem. Right. You go to other countries, other first world countries who really have their shit together, Sweden, Norway, parts of South Africa, as well as, like, not just Europe, Asia, and they don't teach the way we teach. They teach in a much broader, abstract way so that kids can really find out what their niche is and who they are as people, so they're more successful and, i.e., happy. Okay. We don't fucking teach that way. if you can't memorize these 3 things by fucking Friday, well, then you can't memorize these things by Friday. But memorization does not teach intelligence.
Right.
We all know this. How many people we know with like full college degrees that are fucking retarded?
Right.
Excuse my French. Like,
No,
it is what it is.
Man.
So, no.
Right.
That's my short answer.
Right. That was very, very interesting. My last question for you, I want to go back to, you being a lesbian. What are your thoughts?
I know it.
On, because it's interesting. And I feel like, when you talked about segregation, it's just some important points that you bring up. Segregation. I feel like it's a separation between the straight and the gays. And why do you think that it's so divided? Why do you think that the straight hate the gays or the gays hate the straight? Or what are your thoughts on that?
In the United States, it's one thing. I believe there's a lot of homophobia in the United States specifically because of the people that originally decimated this country. If you want to take it all the way back to the Pilgrims were not fucking fleeing from persecution of their fucking religion. They were persecuting everybody else. Mm-hmm. England literally kicked them out. They were like, dog, y'all are fucking wild. Mm-hmm. We're not fun if they didn't do none of this shit. Mm-hmm. So y'all can try to colonize savages and see how that works out. AKA us. So with that being said, it's ingrained into our society, into our system, because anything that was considered different or interesting is bad. And so if you look at it from that way, it's Britannical style view. And even with black and brown people who initially are in this country as well, regardless of our own culture, white supremacy is ingrained in all of our cultures if you're from the United States or if you have a tie to here.
Okay.
So if you have white supremacy, you're naturally going to be homophobic. That's why I find it ironic when people are like, well, gay people clearly chose that. No, we don't. I was raised in a whole straight household, fam. My dad is the fucking what? So clearly this is genetic because right. I had no underlying gayness or anything I saw that was just like made me gay because it don't work that way. It don't fucking work that way. If you watch pornography of gay people or like you see gay people and it turns you on, it's because part of you is a little bit gay. Yeah. It's okay, but be honest. You know how I know I'm super gay? I can watch straight people fucking and it doesn't do shit for me. It's kind of like watching a science experiment. I'm like, okay, right. That's why she's not coming. This is interesting. Right. And then I move on. Like, I don't care.
Right.
It don't do nothing for me. It's irrelevant.
That's interesting.
So I think when it comes to homophobia, especially in our community, it's breaking a lot of generational trauma and barriers
right.
that we see as necessary. They're not. Like, for example, I'm just going to say it. Our religion don't make sense. How are we going to take the religion of our oppressor and think it's going to save us? Mm-hmm. Literally. Sorry, but if you're a Baptist or Christian, you have already lost.
Okay.
Period. None of that religion was ever set to help us. It was only set to hurt us.
Right. So what is your religion? What are you?
So my mother and family is non-denominational Christians. We get into this all the time, but okay. Most of my family on my mother's side has been practicing Santeria or voodoo for a very long time. And so that's basically what I practice. And it's funny because people always assume it's like, oh, so you're a witch. I mean, yeah, technically, but so is anybody who goes to church. Right. You mean to tell me you're going to eat the body and blood of Christ and drink his blood, but I'm fucking weird. Y'all here being fucking cannibals, but I'm fucking weird.
Right.
All right. Because I listen to nature and shit that makes sense.
Yeah.
You right, fam. Super weird.
Right.
So I think it's tit for tat. I don't think anything's wrong with being Christian, but I think you really have to look at a religion and what version you're using. Like King James Bible was literally used to persecute and colonize black and brown people. Mm-hmm. Not just slaves. It was as well as the indigenous people that were already here, the mulattoes or the mixed bloods that were basically the product of rape and pillaging. Right. They weren't even like, it's not like a love story. That's why I love when white people be like, so what are you? And I'm like, Susan, you don't want to know the answer.
Right.
Because if I bring it back to slavery, you going to get mad.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a love story. Don't ask why I'm light skinned. Like, don't do it. Right. We're not going to go there. Because you're going to be mad. I'm going to think it's funny. Slavery.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you showing up.
Yeah, I'm sorry I came in late, but everything that you said, was very knowledgeable, and I hope a lot of people know what you have to speak about. And hopefully, in the future, we can have you on the show again.
I hope so. It'd be kind of funny and interesting. We gonna see.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully next time you can smoke too.
You can smoke on the show. I mean, I don't care.
No, but I mean next time you can actually smoke.
Yeah.
Because if not, it would have been a lot of me just